Alright, today class we are going to turn to page 10 in our iBook notes. If you'll notice at the top of page 10 we already had subtraction rules for integers. Well, today we are going to be learning about multiplying and dividing integers. So let's just draw a line underneath this section to begin our new section. Okay? You can title it Multiplying and Dividing Integers. Now let's put a little star here. When multiplying or dividing two numbers. The rules are really nice and easy here for both. When signs are the same, it equals a positive answer. That doesn't matter if they're both negative, it doesn't matter if they're both positive, it's still a positive answer. So that would be, for instance, 5 times 4 equals 20. That could be negative 5 times negative 4 equals 20. Make sure it looks like a negative and a times symbol. But that also is the same when they are dividing. So if you have negative 20 divide negative 5, you get a positive 4. And if you have a positive 20 divide a positive 5, you get a positive 4. Now, if the signs are different, I'm going to write that here. Signs are different. That equals a negative answer. Okay? Now I'm going to just loop this around here, just so we know that goes together. So if the signs are different, you get a negative answer, so that would include negative 5 times a positive 4 equals negative 20. That would also be if it's a positive 5 times a negative 4, you get negative 20. Also goes for division. If I get a negative 20 divide a positive 5, I get a negative 4. If I have a 20 divide a negative 5, I get a negative 4. Okay? Now, what might you ask if there were more than two numbers being multiplied or divided together? Because you're going to have that sometimes. So let me just draw a line under here so I can emphasize this. Slide up. We're still on page 10. So if there's an even amount of negatives, and you can abbreviate, an even amount of negatives, that equals a positive answer. But if you have an odd amount of negatives, you get a negative answer. Let's look at some examples of that, okay? I want to make a little box here so we can look at them. Divide it up so you can have room for more than one. So one example could be -1 times -1 times -1 times -1. I have 4 negatives being multiplied together. That's an even amount. Therefore, it is a positive 1. Let's look at another one. What if I do over here, -2 times -2 times -2? That is an odd amount of negative numbers. Well, 2 times 2 times 2, that's 8. There's an odd amount of negatives here, so it's -8. Now keep in mind this works for multiplying and dividing, okay? But we're going to look at a couple more examples. What if I have in parentheses a -3 and on the outside squared? Well, this means -3 times -3. Well, that's an even amount of negatives, so the answer is positive. So it's a positive 9. Let's look at this though. What if I have in parentheses a -3 and it's cubed? Well, that means -3 times -3 times -3. Well, I have an odd amount of negatives, so the answer is negative, and 3 times 3 times 3 is 27. So that equals negative, and we'll put it down here a little bit, 27. Okay? Just look at one more example. I like this one. This is a little bit tricky if you're not familiar with these rules, so if you ever see a -3 squared, okay, exponents always comes before multiplication, which actually means that this negative represents a -1 times 3 squared, which is -1 then, -1 times 3 times 3. Okay? And so that means 3 times 3 is 9 times -1, because that negative goes back in after the exponent's done. So you have -9. Okay? Let's look at one with division and multiplication. Let's try. Let's go with -2 to the 3rd power, fraction bar. All right. 4. So -2 times -2 times -2 we saw was -8. -8 divide 4 equals -2. Now if you think about it, this means -2 times -2 times -2, that's an odd amount of negatives, and that's why you get a negative answer. Alright students, we're going to be moving on to the next part of the lesson. Thank you.